Money on my mind, looking for a dime. James Locke in the house, gonna help you shine.
Welcome to the Poole Locke YouTube channel. I'm James Locke. Today we're going to answer some of the Ask James questions of the day. Our first question today is from Jennifer. And she says, is there a benefit to using a combination of different income strategies, using annuities and using the withdrawal method and using the true income method? Sure, Jennifer, that could actually work, right? I know a lot of people that I talk to use a combination of the income method and the annuity method, right? So, what if you just put a little bit into the withdrawal strategy as well? Well, what I'd recommend is, if you were to do that, is to say, okay, how much income do I really need in retirement? And when I say need, I don't just mean to pay the utility bills and the property tax and the insurance. I mean to live in an okay lifestyle. And then how much extra do I want to do those extravagant things, right? To do the traveling and the spoiling of the grandchildren, all the extras, right? Because then what you might be able to do is say, okay, the amount of money I need in retirement to live a decent lifestyle, I split somewhere between the income method and living off the interest and dividends, and not selling any shares, so living off the known growth, not counting on the unknown growth, the capital appreciation. And then some of it going into an annuity, right? And that gives you your income need, your income goals in retirement. And then the extra for the I want goals can go into the withdrawal strategy, right? So let's just say, totally you want to make $100,000 in retirement, but your need goals are $70,000. Well, that $70,000 should, could be funded from the income from the annuities, and then the extra the extra $30,000 of the I want goal could come from the withdrawal strategy. Now, what I've found with clients who use this kind of combined approach is that it creates what I call psychological comfort zones, right? When you know your essential expenses are covered by reliable income sources, it kind of gives you the freedom to be more aggressive with that discretionary portion. It's like building your retirement house on a solid foundation. Once that's secure, you can get creative with the rest of the structure. And that way if things don't cooperate in the financial markets, maybe you cut that extra $30,000 of income down to $15,000 and you just get a little bit less of the extravagant stuff. And if it does well and it works out, and then maybe it replaces some of the money that was spent down in the annuity. Now, another benefit to this combined approach is flexibility through different phases of retirement. In those early go-go years, when you're more active and likely spending more on travel and activities, having that withdrawal bucket gives you that extra spending power. Then, as you transition to what some call the slow-go years, your needs might shift, and having that guaranteed income becomes even more valuable. It's about matching your income strategy to your life stages. Now, I should also mention that this blended approach gives you important tax diversification. Having multiple income sources lets you, strategically withdraw from different accounts based on tax implications each year. For example, in a lower income year, you might accelerate withdrawals from your taxable account or do Roth conversions. While in higher income years, you can lean more on your tax advantage sources, right? So again, I think if you do it that way and do it from an informed perspective, doing a little bit of everything probably is not a bad idea. Great question, Jennifer. I love it. Thanks. Fantastic question from Jennifer. If you would like to send in your question, you can do so by emailing them to poollocke@poollocke.com. Let's get to our second question. Our second question is from Tyler. Tyler says, I'm diversified, but still, what's really a worst case scenario of loss on paper? All right, Tyler, great question, especially when it comes to understanding potential worst case losses in different investment scenarios. Let's break it down further. If your portfolio is predominantly invested in bonds and you're diversified across various types, like short-term, long-term, a realistic worst-case kind of loss might hover around 15%. And this figure is based on historical bond market performance, such as the downturn we saw in 2022, where certain segments of the bond market experienced declines in that range. Now, if we shift our focus to the stock market, the potential worst-case loss might be substantial. If you're broadly diversified across the S&P 500, for instance, historical precedent suggests that losses could exceed up to 50%. This figure reflects major downturns like the bursting of the tech bubble in the early 2000s, where the S&P dropped by nearly 50% from peak to trough. Similarly, during the 07-08 financial crisis, the S&P 500 declined 53%. It's important to note that if your portfolio is more concentrated in tech-heavy indices like the NASDAQ, the potential worst-case loss could be even higher. For example, during the tech bubble burst in 2000, the NASDAQ Composite Index plummeted by 75%. For most retirees or those approaching retirement, a balanced portfolio combining stocks and bonds is often recommended to mitigate risk while aiming for consistent income. Now, if you have a diversified mix of stocks and bonds aligned with a typical S&P 500 and bond market allocation, your worst-case loss potential would likely fall somewhere between the 50% for stocks and 15% for bonds, depending on your specific asset allocation. Now, ultimately, understanding these historical benchmarks can help you gauge your risk tolerance and make informed decisions about your investment strategy. It's crucial to balance the desire for income generation with the need to manage risk and volatility effectively, especially as you plan for stable and secure retirement. Awesome questions today. If you would like to send in your question, you can do it. You can email them to poollocke@poollocke.com. And if you like what you heard, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. I'm James Locke, your retirement income source. I'll see you next time.
Money on my mind, looking for a dime. James Locke in the house, gonna help you shine. Retirement is near, don't you live in fear. Listen up, my friend, let me make it clear. Savings in the bank.